You probably think you know the story of America. But what if I told you the real story? The one that actually matters has almost nothing to do with politics and everything to do with physics. Yep, you heard that right. Forget all the history you learned in school. We're about to reframe the entire story of a nation as a series of, well, thermodynamic jailbreaks. See, civilizations don't just level up because they want to. They level up because their old energy systems start to literally choke them out. And I'm Nova. Think of me as your entropy sommelier. I'm here to show you how America's real history isn't written in ink on some dusty old document. Nope. It's written in heat. It's written in horsepower. And it's written in the constant grinding battle to turn chaotic energy into useful work. So here's the fundamental idea we're working with today. A nation's story isn't really about its grand ideas or its famous leaders. Underneath all of that, it's a story about energy. It's a pure physics problem, a constant struggle to get more useful stuff done with less waste. The best way to think about it is like a giant video game skill tree. Each new energy source isn't just more fuel, it's a whole new character class. It unlocks totally new abilities for the entire civilization. You start at level 1, the wood age, totally limited by sunlight and biology, and you grind your way up from there. And this is the most important stat in the whole game. Usable work. It's not about how much raw energy a fuel has. Who cares? It's about how much of that energy we can actually rescue from the chaos of entropy and turn into something useful. It's the huge difference between a bonfire that just bleeds useless heat into the sky and a piston that actually moves a nation forward. Okay, so let's start back at the beginning, in what I like to call the photosynthetic prison. Early America was completely trapped. Its entire economy, everything it did, ran on an energy source that was literally limited by how fast trees can grow. It was a biological bottleneck. 90%! Just wrap your head around that for a second. The entire country, all its homes, its brand new factories, was physically tied to the surface of the planet and the speed of photosynthesis. I mean, at this point, horses and oxen were still doing more raw mechanical work than steam engines were. So you have to ask, right? How are you supposed to build an industrial empire when your main fuel source has leaves? The short answer? You can't. As cities started booming, wood shortages created the very first American energy crisis. America didn't choose to leave the wood age. It was being strangled and had to find an escape hatch. And fast. And that escape hatch? Well, it was buried deep underground. Humanity basically found a trapdoor into a giant cavern filled with millions of years of compressed, stored sunlight. The ultimate cheat code, coal. And just look at how fast the whole game changed. By 1885, coal had completely blown past wood. Now, this wasn't some forward-thinking policy choice, it was pure necessity. Coal shattered the land's constraint. It was dense, you could move it, and it became the literal backbone of railroads, steel, and a whole new industrial world. Of course, the first attempts at using this new power source were, let's just say, adorably inefficient. A 95% waste heat rating. It's almost impressive how bad it was. But you know what? Even that tiny 5% slice of useful work was enough to change everything. It was the beginning of the end for muscle power. The next big level up was all about mobility, right? If coal was like a giant, powerful desktop computer chained to the wall, oil was the smartphone. It was liquid, it was portable, and it let us pack an insane amount of power into tiny packages. Cars, planes, the suburbs, pretty much the entire 20th century runs on this one simple upgrade. But here's the thing. The biggest revolution wasn't just about finding a new type of fuel. It was finding a new way to deliver work. This is the moment we go from raw, hot, brute force to cool, calculated precision. This is when energy became programmable. And this is so key. Before electricity, you had one massive, clunky steam engine running an entire factory through this crazy, dangerous system of belts and pulleys. But afterward, you could have dozens of tiny, super efficient electric motors, each one doing one specific task perfectly. Work became distributed. It became precise. It became smart. So as we start to pull all these threads together, the real story starts to come into focus. It was never really about the wood, or the coal, or the oil. It's always been about getting better and better at converting raw heat into controlled motion. But just when it seemed like America had finally mastered the game, the map started to shrink. By the early 2000s, everybody knew the story. American oil production had peaked way back in 1970 and was now in what looked like a terminal decline. The era of American energy dominance? It looked like it was completely over. The credits were about to roll. And then, engineers unlocked a late-game DLC that absolutely nobody saw coming, a brand new conversion technique. They figured out that the problem wasn't a lack of oil, it was just bad geometry. The answer was to stop drilling down and start drilling sideways. And would you just look at this graph? This is the plot twist. What was supposed to be a gentle fade to black becomes a spectacular, unbelievable resurrection. U.S. oil production doesn't just recover, it rockets past the old 1970 peak to a new all-time high. America didn't run out of energy, it just ran into better engineering. So here it is, the ultimate takeaway. We love telling ourselves these grand stories about ideology and destiny and great leaders. But underneath all of that, the real operating system of history is written in the language of physics. The real game changers aren't political, they're technical. They're measured in joules, watts, and conversion efficiency. Constraints push and efficiency pulls. The story of human civilization isn't some moral arc bending toward justice. It's a thermodynamic one, always searching for a more efficient way to turn raw energy into useful action. And that might just be the most powerful force there is. So the question becomes, what's the next constraint we're about to break?